Can technology make us better without making us less human? Hello and welcome to the Zach Brown Show, the show that introduces you to old friends one story at a time. I'm your host, Zach Brown. On this episode, I'm joined by Jeff Sieh, host of Creator News Live. We talk about thriving in the age of AI, building a life that lasts, and why rest fuels creativity. All that and more coming up. Well, Jeff, thanks for just coming and hanging out with me for the day.
Yeah, for the whole day. You didn't mention the whole day, Zach. I don't know if I've got that kind of time, but yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So I know you. I've spent some time with you. I remember hearing about you long before I met you, and everybody was like, "This guy Jeff Sieh is so really cool. Like he's got the AI stuff and technology, and you've got to meet him. Got to meet him." And so when I finally met you, it was like I'd climbed to the mountain and was meeting.
Big disappointed. Very disappointed.
Meeting this person, I was like, he is really cool, and I'm glad to call you friend now, and just to get to spend some time sitting and talking about all things Jeff Sieh.
Oh, cool. Well, that's a short, it's going to be a very short podcast because I'm very shallow, very shallow.
So let's start at the beginning. Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in a little town called Rossville in Kansas. I had like 32 people graduating class. So
wow.
Yeah, it was a small town. I think there's 1,500 people there. We're close to Topeka. It's about 45 minutes away from Topeka, the capital of Kansas, for those of you who have not seen The Wizard of Oz or any of that. So grew up there. My dad was a preacher in this small town, was there for over 35 years, I believe. And
wow.
That's where I grew up. So it was a very good childhood. So I'm glad that I'm not there anymore, but I'm also glad that I was there because it was a very stable home environment. Like, I mean, my parents didn't move until like 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So I had the same childhood home for all that time. So it's been very cool. Yeah.
Did you have siblings? Were you an only child? What was your situation?
So I have a sister who's 2 years younger than me, and she is the good person in the family. I don't know if I was the black sheep, but I was definitely like very off-white, probably grayish. So I was probably the typical preacher's kid is what it was. Yeah.
Yep. And man, growing up in the church world myself and being, my dad was never like the pastor, if you will, but definitely on staff and part of ministries. And it's funny how like pastors' kids get such a bad rep. Like there are those.
A lot of it's true, though.
I was just gonna say they're the ones you're like, you're the reason that the rest of us look bad.
Right.
They're not all the kids from Seventh Heaven, but it's funny when I hear about different pastors' kids or ministry kids, and I'm just like, yes, I get you.
Yeah, I think that's where I developed my theater stuff was because I was putting on two faces a lot of times.
Yep.
So I think a lot of that came from it. So yeah, but my dad, we're still very close. Dad was my best man at my wedding, and so
that's cool.
We had a tough junior high, I was horrible, when I look back and now that I have kids and stuff, like I was just in the junior high and high school. Not the best, but we have a great relationship, me and my mom. And so we go over there still every Sunday, usually have dinner either there or here. So it's kind of a nice little tradition we have.
That's special. How many people get to say that?
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, one of the things that I've always wanted to make sure that I don't have is like, I don't want to have the regrets. Like, I don't want to go like, oh, I forgot. I hadn't told my dad I loved him in 10 years. Like every conversation I say, I love you, Dad. It's like, I just want to go and not have those times where I'm like, I wish I would have spent more time on Sundays. And so we just kind of do it. So that's kind of my philosophy.
I love that. So I know you as a creative. Anybody that has been around you knows you as such. What were some early experiences that you would say that kind of like helped shape your approach to creativity and creative projects, things like that?
It's really fun. Now I'm thinking about it because way back in the grade school when all the desks like at recess, I remember that since I was a preacher's kid, I always had to marry the guys and girls that loved each other underneath the jungle gym. That was my job. I was the grade school pastor. I don't know how they thought I had powers to do that, but I would like marry people. But then I set out on my desk, like I had this thing, like I like cartoons, like I'll draw your cartoons. I remember I had a little place card and I would draw like, I don't know, Peanuts or Garfield or whatever things. And so that was and then I did a, small town school. I did a lot of the plays and stuff, but it wasn't until really high school where I had an amazing English teacher. Shout out to Mr. Goolsby, who got me involved.
He watches this, by the way.
Yeah, it probably does. Like, no, he's a really cool guy. He still follows and does stuff. But he got me into theater, and I never wanted to do that. I was kind of in high school, you're shy, I'm like, I don't know and stuff. And he got me into doing theater, and I was like in the first one I was in was like the chorus of the Music Man.
Ooh.
No, the chorus of it wasn't the Music Man, it was Oklahoma. And
There you
then
go.
they did Sound of Music, and I was Friedrich, the oldest boy. So I was High on a Hill was a lonely goat herd. I got a yodel and in falsetto. That was great in high school. The girls were just beating down my door, and I was doing it in sailor pajamas, which is even better. Yeah, so it was a really just dates every Friday. And then did that, and then I was what did we do? We did Sing in the Rain my junior year, and I was Don Lockwood. I started taking tap. I did 4 years of tap with an all-guy tap group. None of them were gay. It was just amazing. It was so much fun. And then we did my senior year. I was Daddy Warbucks and Annie, and I actually shaved my head. Which was, like my uncle wouldn't talk to me. It was so much fun. It was
such commitment.
My hair grew back different. So it was crazy. So, but
This
Mr.
part
And then
used to go over here.
yeah, it's like I had curly hair. Now it's straight. But Mr. Goolsby, then he got me in Kansas, they have like speech competition. They call it forensics. I don't know why.
Okay.
We don't diagnose and go and like CSI and cut people open or anything, but it was forensics. And so there was I started doing prose, which you read from a book, but then I got really involved into solo performance, and then I would do duet, and it was always comedy. So I always would do this comedy stuff, and we went all the way to state. It was, it was just, it was my thing, and I had a ball doing that. And so that was kind of, I would say Mr. Goolsby got me down the creative path, performing wise. And then I was always a big reader. I mean, the Riff program, reading is fun. I would love it because I could go and get all the Scholastic books. We would get one for free. You could pick one out off the table. And I got to read in this because I like to read a lot. And so I got to read in the advanced section when I was a junior high, grade school. And so, so I had really good teachers, but and my parents were always in a small town, sports is huge. And my sports ability, you could fit in the pinky, maybe the tip of it. I stunk at it, but I did it in junior high. Yeah. But then in high school, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And my parents were so supportive, and they went to all my plays, and they encouraged me, and they were always like, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And so it was a good relationship that way. They always encouraged my creativity.
Yeah, I love that. I feel very kindred to that. I was never athletic. I played 1 year of church league soccer, which you're taught more about team and spirit than you are actual athletics. We didn't win a single game that entire season, and so I was like, this is not for me. They would place me at defense, and my job was to basically just keep talking to the people that come to our side of the field.
Right.
And they were like, you talk a lot, just go distract the forwards. I'm like, no problem. And so that's about my athletic experience. And the theatrical stuff is so fun.
Yeah. I was going to say, when I'm like you with the physical ability, because in junior high, the first day of no pads, I broke my foot in 3 places and was out. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm just can't win. So sports are out for me. Kind of thing, so.
I did my best, and this was not good enough.
God is telling me something. Yeah.
Yeah. So you take this, theatrical kind of bug, if you will, the performance aspect, you're clearly geared towards it. So what is the point that you go from, grade school, doing the theatrical things, to doing the Wild West comedy show?
Oh, so in college, my roommate and I, Bill Minahan, shout out to him. We went to a school. I did a dual degree program at K-State and which is Kansas State University, and Manhattan Christian College, which is a Bible college where I met my wife at. And my roommate and I, he was doing magic stuff. He was kind of dabbling in it. And then not like we weren't sacrificing chickens or anything. We were actually illusions and David Copperfield kind of stuff.
Sure.
So we started doing this kind of act, and then we started taking it on the road. He bought a trailer. I had a truck we would pull it in, And we came, I mean, from Kansas all the way to Dallas, we did stuff. We did lock-ins. And so I paid for a lot of college with doing that magic. Well, Bill, he was very much a performer too. Better, way better than me. And I was in the choir in college, and we traveled around and did stuff. And I would do magic kind of to warm up the crowd, and also like to sell T-shirts and our CDs or whatever at the end. But Bill and I would travel onto this. But Bill got a gig at this Elitch Gardens. He was doing strolling magic. Well, he also got a gig at Branson, and he wanted the Branson gig because that's where a lot of performers are instead of the Magic Center. He goes, "Hey, you want to do the Elitch Garden thing?" I'm like, "Okay." And I talked to the guy, and so they hired me to go and do strolling magic for Elitch Garden. So I did that, and then I would open for the Wild West show to warm up the crowd. I had this really cool trick that I would, the guns would be shooting, and it was a lot of fun. It was easy to do, really, really funny, and they loved it. And so I was around them so much that when one of the guys left, they said, "Hey, do you want to fill in?" I'm like, "Yeah," because I knew all the lines. And so I just went in there, and I didn't go back to school because I was doing 6 shows a day and having a ball, making good money for a college age student. And so I stayed in Denver and didn't go back to school for that semester. So yeah, it was, that's how I got to the Wild West, a comedy stunt show.
How long did you do that?
Well, gosh, it was like it was longer than a summer. So, yeah. So, but I mean, it was one of the funnest times in my life. Cause you're in there and there's like, you're hanging out backstage with the guys who are doing the high diving thing and the motorcycle danger wheel, people are diving into like a little glass, like you saw in Bugs Bunny cartoon. I mean, it was just these weird, and like I made good friends with the juggler who taught me how to juggle and ride a unicycle. And so it was just this eclectic, like I was like Barnum and Bailey's Clown College or something.
It was like a circus.
Yeah. It was so much fun because you meet all these cool people. And I was, I remember my parents, like we didn't have cell phones. They pretty much, we loaded up my car. He gave me a quarter in case I got stuck somewhere to call home. Yeah. And like, I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know anything. I just go to Denver. Dad had called, found a church there that he didn't know. I was like, "Hey, my son's coming. Like, do you have a place to?" So I hooked up with these crazy people who let me stay in their basement. And like, it was just like, who does that anymore? Right. Yeah. Like who does that?
Because anyway, we're in such a world where you post every little thing that you do in your day. I'm just thinking about like you coming home from this summer of doing this thing to be like, what'd you do this summer? Well, I learned how to juggle and ride a unicycle. And I did like, there'd be no amount of time that you could take to explain everything that you saw and experienced.
I know. It was so much. It was so much fun. Met a bunch of cool people, learned some great skills on how to, get up in front of people and, put people at ease when you're talking. And I mean, so that all translates, I think, to life. And so it was a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're going to fast forward, and you are the host of, well, many shows, but one of your main shows is Creator News Live.
Right.
Every Friday on YouTube, 11 a.m. Eastern. Check it out. It's really great. Click like and subscribe.
Thank you.
What first drew you into live video and hosting shows? Like clearly you were already doing that, but what was the marriage of taking your hosting skills, your kind of being the guy, and taking your love of technology and kind of marrying those things?
So when I got married, I started a web design firm. It was called like Whirl Web Design. I don't know why I did Whirl, but it was like it rhymed or something. So I did that, and I was building like websites. And this company in town was a photographer, but he was also doing graphic design, all this stuff. It was called Say Cheese. And so I went and worked for them as their multimedia manager. So I would make CD-ROMs, like kiosk kind of stuff. We did a lot of Flash websites. If you remember those, you can thank me later. Everything would move when you would go on the website back in the day. Everything was table. We had to build websites like in table with front page and this. Nobody knows what I'm talking about anymore. It's so old. But I did that for a while. And then I saw that company was kind of folding, and I was like, I need to start my own company. And so I did. And I was able to start it with, luckily, one of the guys who left the old Say Cheese company and a guy who I'm actually working with again now. We all formed like a partnership, like an S Corp. And we got all these residential homes because one of the guys owns one here where like troubled teens come and like they get help and all that stuff. But I would do it for people all across the country, and they formed like a co-op kind of thing. And when they joined the co-op, they would pay something like $15,000 and they would get a website, a CD-ROM listed in a big directory, did it all. So I started this company and I had some money to kind of seed it when I first started. And so that's what I did for a long time. Then social media kind of erupted, and I was always telling my clients, you need to do social media. So I thought, oh, I'm going to do social media. I need to. And I was driving back from Kansas, visiting my parents or my wife's parents. And I heard a podcast, and it was Social Media Examiner. And there was this lady on it her name was Cynthia Sanchez. And she was talking about Pinterest. And I'm like, what? And she goes, it really helps drive blog traffic. And I was like, okay, I have a blog. I need traffic. I'm going to try it. And so I started doing that. It started getting some traction. I wrote a blog post called Manly Pinterest Tips #1. And it was how I shared a secret board with my daughter, and it kind of took off. And I'm like, okay, there's something here, because even more than today, Pinterest was like considered a woman's network. Right.
Sure.
And so I was in there with all the hair braids and, the mason jar, oats kind of thing, and doing this stuff. And it took off, and it started doing that. And so I started a live show way back in the day on Google Plus, before Facebook Live happened, before any of that stuff. And it was called, and we just called it Manly Pinterest Tips. It evolved into the Manly Show. No, it was the Manly Show. Then it went to Manly Pinterest Tips. I had 4 other guys who had a lot more followers than I did, who were kind of co-hosts. And we got to interview people like Guy Kawasaki, because it was like the Wild West. Everybody wanted to be on a live show. Like Guy Kawasaki, we did the executive producer of Pretty Woman and Under Siege. Cool. And so we got all these really cool people on. And that kind of kicked it off. That got me noticed by Social Media Examiner. They hired me to run their Pinterest, which led to running their Instagram, to running their live shows. And so I did their shows for like 5 years. And I was like, I was a contractor, but they were like my biggest client. I did that for a long time. Then they stopped kind of during COVID. I started my show, and here we are.
I love that answer, because I think too many people see success stories, but they don't see the zigzag of getting to where you're going. Like, it is almost never a straight line from here to there. Sometimes you're climbing up a mountain and you have to go sideways a good ways to get to the next level. So I love that you're walking those steps, and just the different people and pieces that you're growing with, and that you're like, I did this for 5 years. Like, that's a long time to be doing something. And so to move on to something else, I love that journey. Obviously the amount of things that you learned in that time.
Yeah. Even in the middle of that, when I was working with Social Media Examiner, I was producing their show. And I was actually behind the scenes producing it for a while. Eric Fisher was like the host for after Stelzner kind of backed away. Eric Fisher was doing it for a while, and I was kind of behind the scenes. And then they decided to cancel the show. And I'm like, because a lot of my identity was in like doing that. Well, then they brought me back and I was the host, and then that quit. And so it's hard when you pour out into this stuff, and then it's like your identity's kind of inside of what you're doing. And then when it stops, you're like, okay, reevaluate. So that was kind of a tough time. And because it was a big step going like, okay, I'm going to do this for me now, and I'm going to be the brand. Just because I hadn't done it, it was really hard to do. And like I get it why people don't want to go live. Like every Friday still, I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this stupid show? But then the people show up and I have fun, and it's always fun. So you kind of learn to push past the pain or the fear a little bit. But I get it why people struggle with some of that stuff.
Did you see, like, you walked through this journey and you were in the different things. Did you see a need that you didn't feel was being met in a show format that you were like, I need to do this thing? Is that what kind of led to that?
To be honest, when I first started my own show, it was basically because I was doing the show for Social Media Examiner, and I didn't want to stop. I wanted to do my own. And I was really nervous. Like, is Stelzer going to get mad? Because it's not, I'm calling it something different, but we're kind of using the same format. And Grace, who was actually my co-host at Social Media Examiner, she went with me when that kind of show folded. And I came back and did it. I was like nervous, like they're going to sue me because I'm too close. And I'm like, all these questions in my head. And I think the reason that I started doing live stuff, to be honest, all the way back to the Manly Pinterest stuff, is like, I looked at doing community theater here, and it was horrible. Like, it was so bad. I was like, how can I can't do that. It's just bad. And I needed an outlet. And I think that was enough that it was, it was a great tie into doing stuff, making people laugh, having some fun, and actually it's a business that I can actually make money at.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, okay, maybe this makes sense. And then I started when I did my stuff at the Say Cheese, I had a really great guy who was a designer, and I don't pretend that I'm a designer, but he taught me enough to be dangerous, so I
Mm.
can throw stuff together and talk about visual design and talk about tools that help do visual design. And so when I was at Social Media Examiner, I was able to get up on stage for I think over 5 years at
Wow.
a big conference where they had like 3,000 people or 4,000 people some years,
Yeah.
and be in front of people that way, like that was really cool too. Like that was a very I was very blessed to have that opportunity. That I was also a contractor, but also Mike saw enough in me that he knew I could speak and present to his audience.
Yeah. I like how it serves multiple masters. Like you, like, yes, you were doing it to serve a need, but also within yourself. You were
Yeah.
needing that creative outlet. You were placing yourself with people that were also inspiring you, and you were learning from them. You were building building a room, building a house for all those people to come to this community. I think that's neat.
You're kind of touched on something like when you're doing this solopreneur stuff and building a brand and a business, it's really lonely, right? It's
Yeah.
really lonely. We talk about this in the mastermind because one of the cool things about the mastermind is we're all together and we can bounce stuff off of each other when somebody's having a bad day or whatever. And when I first started my business, it was great. I went to BNI, which was local. It's kind of like a networking group if you've ever heard of BNI. But they were all picking my brain for free, and I kind of outgrew that because I was like, okay, these are people, but I need to go out. Nobody's doing what I do. I need somebody in that understands what I'm doing in this digital space.
Hmm.
And it was so cool because it was right at that time where social media took off and marketing and digital products and all that stuff. So I wasn't stuck in my local area, which is,
Yeah.
I still think people don't think about like you are not stuck in your local market anymore, unless you're like, you want to have a brick and mortar and that's what your dream is, but you don't have to be stuck serving just the clients in your town. Like
Yeah.
it's amazing that you have this, you have in your pocket, you have a television studio. You can go anywhere, right? Like
Yep.
we can do this show. Who knows who's going to watch it? Like
Right.
it's going everywhere. So I just think it's a cool time of our lives to live in. I mean, cool era to live in.
Yeah. I definitely agree. The thing about creative projects that I find very interesting is we set out to make something and it evolves. You have an idea, it shifts, it changes. The more you're always refining. You have to be. How do you feel the show has changed over the years? How has it evolved from like when you first started to what it's become now? How have you seen that has shifted into something where you're like, oh, this is what it wants to be?
So for me, like when I first started, I really, because it was the format we had it when I was doing it at Social Media Examiner. I always had a co-host, right? And we'd have a guest. We'd always have a co-host, and I used that co-host thing as probably a crutch for a long time because it's
Mm.
easier because I do a lot of live switching when I'm doing the show, changing camera angles and stuff, and it's easier with a co-host because you can cut to them and then you can like look at stuff, read comments, whatever.
Yeah.
But as the show evolved, I can do a show by myself or myself with a guest. Or what's been fun is like when Connor can't be the co-host, I can get Paul. Or if Paul's not, I can have Zach come on and do it. Like I like to bring my friends on, like that
Mhm.
I know banter and we can have a good time together with. So
Yeah.
I think that's evolved. And also like I don't try to go get like famous people. I mean, I love to have more famous. I mean, we if we get them, we can have them. But I'm like, I really want to serve my audience. Like, what
Yeah.
does my audience want? And a lot of times that's people I meet that I find really, really interesting or have a great take on something. The other thing that the show has evolved with is being more creative with it. Like the last 4 months, I've been doing having AI create jingles for each of my guests, which is just so much
Yeah.
fun. I enjoy it so much. I always try to make it better. We're getting ready to do a rebrand. I mean, so always trying to make your content a little bit better or so you don't get bored with it. And also
Yeah.
you kind of delight your audience. So that's kind of, I think, how it's kind of changed.
I love that. And I think, as a creator, a person who hosts and creates the show, like if you're not entertained by it, if you're not
Right.
delighting in what you're putting out, like, why would you expect anybody else to? So I think it's that if you get bored with something or whatever, like, I kind of want to just change this up. If it's
Right.
for only me, then it's still worth it because
Mhm.
I want to put out this thing that I'm like, I dig this.
Yeah. Our friend Lou Magello says like when he quits loving what he's doing, he's going to stop. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
the thing. Like, I mean, and I know like we are very blessed that we have an audience and that we are able to do this. It's also a lot of work. It's like you said
Yeah.
at the beginning, it just didn't happen. Like I didn't say, hey, I'm going to make a live show and it's going to be great. Like I still want to grow it. Like, I'm still not there, but, not letting the fear of like, no, like when you first start doing anything, it's just going to be you and your mom. Like, oh, that's great, honey. Good
Yeah.
job. And like that, just, you got to get used to that in a live show. Like no one's going to show up in the beginning. It's just the way it is.
Right.
But you start growing and then people showing up and you're like, okay, I want to be there. I know Zach's going to be in the audience. I want to be there. Oh, I know Rich, Graham's going to be in the audience. Oh, I know he's going to be there every week. So that's just really cool to me is
Yeah.
having that kind of community and people show up to listen to you.
Your show has this amazing balance of incredibly valuable information, but it's also entertaining. Like some of the stuff that you bring on is very much over my head, but I watch because I'm learning, but I don't feel like it's a slog, like it's some sort of like B-side,
Right.
PBS show. What do you think the secret sauce for you is for that balance of informative and entertaining?
I think you generally like, I mean, like I couldn't do a show on, I don't know, nuclear physics because I don't care and I don't know and like enough to ask questions. My thing is always asking questions. And I've had debates, some like even with Lou Mangello, he's like, I never have questions prepared. I'm like, that's great for you. But like, because I came from social media, and they would have questions, like Mike would vet questions that we had to ask. It's just kind of the way I did it. And so from that, I have 3 sections to my show, 5 questions each. Now we may not ever use any of them. Like it may go down a rabbit trail, but and I'm not scared to go, whoa, Connor, wait before you get to that question. I want to ask this because you said this, Zach. What do you mean? And I want it to be like you're in the room with us as we're talking. Like I want to make it valuable for people, but also it's free consulting. Basically, it's free consulting for me. Like when I get these experts on, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to ask it because this will make me better and my show and my platform better. So
Yeah.
I think asking questions is the biggest thing.
And I think people sense that. Like this is a block of questions that you're just going down. And, if you're not actively listening to what the person is saying, the next question might not make sense or it's going to feel so clunky. A few episodes back, we talked with Cassie and she and I were talking about that, where it's like, you have to be okay with diverting, like the curiosity. It's going to happen naturally in the conversation where it's like, oh, I love that thing you just said. Let's talk about that for a second. Let's park it here before we move on. You have to just kind of throw your hands up and go, this is what it's becoming. And it's still really good.
Yeah. That a couple weeks ago, that was what Paul and I's episode was. I had questions ready. And then the audience started asking all these great questions because they really were into this. Like, how do I monetize Facebook? What now? How do you do that? And it was a free for all. And it was so much fun. One, because I'm giving the audience exactly what they want. And they're also, so I have that list of questions. And the funny thing is a lot of times the audience will ask questions that I have already in that same maybe genre has, but I always pull up the audience's question on the screen. I'll throw mine out to get the audience because that's what I want. I want the audience to be on the show and not me. And so that's, I think, one of the things too that we try to do that. And I don't know why I didn't do it earlier, but coming up for each of those 3 sections is now I start each section with an audience question. Like, hey, what kind of creator are you? Do you do this, or this? And then they start putting the content and they start, oh, he's going to pull up my stuff. Like I may stick around to the very, very end of the show because he may answer my question. And that's another way to keep engagement and stuff going. And I always try to, unless they're like mean comments, I'll try to pull them up as I can.
It's clever though, because you keep them engaged. They feel valuable, because they've contributed something. They get that little endorphin hit because you've popped their name up. But then again, it's this amazing thing that you can't get anywhere else on television. It's not like you're going to watch The Office and make a joke to Michael Scott and he's going to talk back to you.
Right.
That's insane. You should probably be checked out. But to be having this one-on-one moment, essentially, where you're interfacing with this person across the country, going back to the technology aspect, what an incredible time that we live in. I mean, it's like OG Epcot Center happening right now.
Yeah. And I think that they're only going to want more of that kind of interaction. That's why I think live video is poised. If companies are smart, they'll start putting more and more of that out, because all the slop that's coming out, all the stuff where you don't interact with people. If you have a live show every week where you actually answering customers' questions or just interacting with the people in your community, that's huge. Who else is doing that? You could do that as whatever size company you are and really get those people on your side. It's amazing. Like when I go to conferences, there's so many people who never comment, but they go, "Hey, I watch your show every week." I'm like, I never see you. Like, you never comment. But that is the coolest thing. Like, okay, thank you so much for watching it. And always ask, what did you like about it? Or what could I do different to make it better? And take criticism. Some of it's stupid and you don't need to listen to it, but a lot of it's like, you know what? That's right. I should do that. That's a good idea.
I got to go take care of something. Hang tight. Hey, listener. If you've been enjoying the show and want to be a bigger part of what we're building here, I'd love to invite you to join the Patreon. It's a great way to support the podcast, and in return, you get access to some fun stuff like behind-the-scenes updates, bonus content, and even some one-of-a-kind swag like stickers, buttons, and a members-only t-shirt. It helps keep the lights on around here, the conversations flowing, and making this thing something special. So if you're in, come grab your spot. From the balcony to the VIP lounge, each tier brings you deeper into the world of the show. Just head to patreon.com/The Zach Brown Show. I'll see you on the inside.
Come on in to Carl's Arcade, where we have all the hottest video games, including Legend Seekers, Ninja Academy, and Jackalope Hunter.
Wow!
You're darn right, wow. At Carl's Arcade, you can win fun prizes, eat the cheesiest pizza, and try the all-new Tube of Mystery.
All right, so just put your hand in there and try to guess what it is. Is it pudding? Nope. Is it peanut butter? Wrong again. Well, what is it, mister? You don't want to know.
Located conveniently near the Windjammer Mall, behind Penny's Popsicles. Carl's Arcade. Live your adventure today.
Oh, boy!
Listen, I know we're all enjoying the commercials, but let's get back to the show. So you talk often about technology, AI for creators. Like, the very first thing that I ever heard about Jeff Sieh was he's the AI guy. He knows everything that there is to know about AI, which is so funny because obviously it's changing like this all the time.
I wish I did. Yeah.
But how do you personally, because you surround yourself with it so much, how do you see AI reshaping the way that creators do what they do?
So it's another tool in your toolbox. Like, I remember when Canva came out and the designers like, oh, it's going to kill us. And then designers are using it and they're building templates for people to use themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's a little different with AI because it's moving so fast, but I still like to think of it as a toolbox, right?
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I mean, because then everybody brings up the question of AI ethics and all that stuff, and like artists and all that. And I'm like, the music I put together and the images that I create, none of them are art. Like, they're just not, it's not, I would not consider it art. I think it's novel, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a difference between art and novelty. And novelty isn't bad. Like, that's what's so cool about my show is that every week I have when my guest comes on, they have a theme song that's just for them, but it's still in my theme. And no one else that I know of is doing that. Like, that's something that sets me apart. And people, I think, sometimes just tune into the show and leave after I hear what it says. And then I animate the YouTube thumbnails and put that in my newsletter and that kind of stuff. That stuff's so novel. But nobody's going to come to a concert where I play all of my opening themes for all the people. It's just not going to happen, right? Yeah. And I don't have any expectation that it's going to happen. But I think it's a tool that I think makes my stuff more creative and more important that I have a lot of fun doing. Like I really like doing those. I dreamt about it when I was a kid, having my own theme song, and now I can have a big band introduce my guest every time, and it fits my theme. So I just think it's so much fun to do. So, but it's different from novelty. But I just think it's speeding up everything. Like you and I have talked about video editing, and like one week you couldn't edit video with AI and now you can. Like it's it's going a gazillion miles an hour. I think you just have to pick a lane. Like my thing is kind of visual marketing, video, images. I don't talk I'm using it, but I don't talk a lot about using agents and OpenClaw and all that stuff. But I think the stuff, like if you struggled with something, there may be a way that AI can help you get that done easier and quicker. Like even show research now for me, like Zach's comes on my show. I'm going to go to his last 3 YouTube videos. If he has them, I'm going to plug those in. I'm going to have AI analyze those. And I'm going to say like, hey, I want to talk about Zach about creativity, but I don't want to ask him questions that he's been asked before. How can I do that? And so many times now on my show, I have people go, no one's ever asked me that before. And I'm like, yes, that's what you want, right? Like you're like, ah. And so using and it's still, I don't think it's cheating. It's just helping me ask better questions.
Sure.
Which if you look at like Seth Meyers, Fallon, they have teams of writers who are scouring the internet, putting the stuff together for Jimmy. And if AI can do that for me, what's wrong with that? I don't think anything. So as long as I'm not presenting it like my emails are, I get some ideas and it helps me clean up the formatting, but it's still me writing those emails, right? Like it's still that. So I think we have to be careful. And if you're going to use AI and it's all plain AI, you need to say like, this was generated for AI. I just proofread it or something. So that's my thoughts.
I love what you said about the like late night guys, because that is the exact analogy that I used for someone or with someone last week. And I was like, these people have a team of writers working for them. And like you said, doing the research, I was like, I don't have that time, the resources, the finances, but I was like, but I can take a really solid outline, a very fleshed out overview of what I want to do, toss that in and basically go, starting here, go do this. Do research. I love the thing of, what have they not been asked recently? Make this fun for them in addition to giving value to the audience. That's not cheating, because you could still get the thing back and go, this is crap. I don't want any of this. Like or you go, ooh, that kind of made me think of something else now that I want to ask. I'm not going to use your thing, but this inspired this. I just look at it as such, the way I use it anyway, it's such a creativity stimulant. You don't have to just take it blatantly. I help, yes, it helps me with emails and things that I'm doing for my newsletter and for scripts and et cetera, but you still have to massage the heck out of it to make it yourself, Yeah. It's still a lot of fun.
Yeah. And, I think, using that stuff, like nobody, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but no podcaster or video person likes show notes. Nobody does. No one liked making show notes. I hated making show notes. And so having AI do it, that is so easy and it's done. Like, and the same thing with like YouTube chapter markers. Like that used to be a pain in the rear end. And now you could just generate them like, oh, thank you, AI. That helped a lot. So those kind of things, those little tasks, even formatting. Like I have a client who constantly sends me the wrong formatting for his blog post every time. And I just throw it now into chat, and I just copy and paste it after it does it. It knows that I don't even have to ask it. I just throw that in there, and he's like, okay, I know what you want. And it's done. Yeah. Like stuff like that is really, really cool. One of the things people ask, like, it's taking away jobs. And like, it is probably going to take jobs and it's going to move it. But here's what I always say to that. Like, we used to have blacksmiths on every corner, right? Like we did. Like, you had to, like, you get your horse shoed, you go to your one down the block or whatever. Yeah. We still have blacksmiths. We don't have as many. And a lot of those blacksmiths had to go and learn to do different things. Yeah. I think that's what's happening with AI. I think it's just happening a lot faster. And that's what's, I think, the scariest thing to people.
Yeah. I also think it's going to create jobs in a way. Yeah. It's going to take probably more away than it's creating. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's how you the general you, employ it. What are you doing with it? It's not this great evil, I mean, I don't think it's going to be like Eagle Eye with Shia LaBeouf or anything like that.
Right.
Maybe. But,
Who knows?
it's still like, I see people freak out and I go, we can't be ignorant about it. If you're so concerned, really like look into it and get your hands in it. Don't just, I did my research by reading someone's post on Facebook and then the inevitable, well, they say, who's they?
So to that point, Zach, that's really interesting. Everyone talks about how much water that every prompt uses 3 liters of whatever it is. Like, and then, okay, we need to address that. We don't want to waste energy, and it's getting smarter and better to be that, but they're not comparing it to the right thing. And you could Google this and see, but you compare how much water your prompts make compared to a cheeseburger, how much water a cheeseburger takes to make. It is astounding. Like, and nobody talks about that. We talk about, oh my gosh, we're boiling the oceans because we're saying please at the end of our chats. Okay, maybe you shouldn't have that quarter pounder with cheese, buddy. Right? Like that's what's boiling our oceans. So you have to go behind the hype for anything and find out the real, like compare it against some things like that really make a difference. So I'm not saying we shouldn't be concerned about like big data centers and all that kind of stuff, but let's compare things and take a breath and see where we're really at. Because I think just to your point, like you kind of have to look a little bit closer.
So now I'm waiting for at the end of this, when I'm putting this episode together, that the AI finds the social media clip for this episode and it goes, what's really boiling our oceans? ChatGPT or cheeseburgers
or McDonald's. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You talk so, frequently with creators in a, wide variety of backgrounds, disciplines. Give me an example. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Give me an example of a creator that leveraged tech, AI, whatever, in a very unexpected way.
Gosh, that's a hard one. Somebody who leveraged tech in a weird, I got to go back through listening to all my, what's really encouraging me is the people who could be very, very scared about it. Like, I had Ryan Coral on a couple weeks ago. He has a big video studio, and a lot of that stuff is going away. And he's pivoting and helping and doing it in a different way, more of a storytelling thing instead of like, let me film your video for X amount of money. So that kind of stuff I think is smart. I've also like talked at Creator Camp because Ecamm, sponsors the show, and she was there when I was speaking, and she's a voiceover artist, and she and I sat down, and she was like tears in her eyes kind of thing. Like, I don't know what to do because 11 Labs and like her thing was training young people who wanted to be voice artists. And she's like, what do I tell them? Right. And those kind of things are real people, real stories, but she's really done a good job of pivoting and now helping people, who have those skills, like translate them into something else, or still being able to do voiceovers if they need it. And like, there's always going to be those people who make good money doing very, very artistic things that AI can do, but they have such a big reputation or a skill set that's just phenomenal that they can use. But you also have to educate these people who are coming up, like going, it's like being an actor. Like it's really hard. Like it's really hard to break in. And I think some of those kind of things are going to be really hard to break into, like they were easier in the past. Does that make sense? Is that a good answer? I don't know if it was or not, but we'll say it is.
I like that. It's the people that are, like you're saying, not being afraid of it, but seeing how they can pivot and use it, that it's not a detriment, where they're like, okay, what do we do with this now? And how can I not have it be against me, but actually work for me? Yeah.
I mean, and I get it. Like I have a friend who's he works for works for a visual agency for movies and stuff, like Only Murders in the Building, the Weird Al Yankovic movie. He's actually grew up with my son, and he's a effects artist. Like one of his jobs was changing the eye color throughout the entire movie from somebody who had brown eyes to blue. Like that was his job, rotoscoping it in. That aspect of his job is going to go away. Like you're going to be able to prompt, hey, remove that wire in the background, and it's going to do it. So he's thinking ahead. He's doing more directing. He's leaning into this stuff. But I mean, those kind of people who see the sea change coming, just kind of hitch up their pants and go like, okay, I'm going to figure out this thing, and I'm going to continue to do what I love. but maybe in a little different way.
Yeah. So I think with everything, there has to be balance. There's so much digital in our face, in our hands, in our pockets all the time. And something else that you do that I think is very special and so important is that you've launched a new show, The Maker's Table, with our friend Katie Fox, future guest on the show. Kind of leaning into that, where you would work with wood and she's crocheting and doing all these things. Outside of that, how do you nurture creativity outside of your content creation?
So I hadn't been a good job of this in the past, but one, I'm doing it more as I get older. And I leaned in like last year, reading a lot about what makes us creative, how we are creative, the science behind creativity fascinates me on some of that stuff. Oh gosh, her blanked on me, but she has a great book on creativity. Natalie, I'll have to give it to you for the show notes. Anyway, okay. But it's a great book. It's called like Think, Move, Rest, I think is what it's called. Natalie Nixon. It's really good. And there's just a lot about how important I treat rest now almost like a prescription. Like if you have high blood pressure or something, they give you a pill to take and to help you lower your pressure. I think that rest is the prescription creatives need. Like I think it's that important. So I've been really trying to lean into the idea of Sabbath, like not doing any work. And I have to do it because we go to church on Sundays. And if I try to combine that day with church, it just still feels like work a little bit. I mean, that sounds bad, but you grew up in the church too. Like it's just like something in the mental thing. Like it's a work day, right? Like Sunday's work day. So it's hard for me to get over that. So I have made Saturdays and I try not to do any work stuff. Like I may read, I may watch a YouTube video or something that interests me, but I'm not writing, emails or I'm not working ahead or that kind of stuff. I take a Saturday completely off where and Michael Hyatt wrote about this and taught about it, is actually scheduling your free time. Like I'm going to take a nap on Saturday at 3.
Yep.
Like I'm going to watch the Stars play on at American Airlines Stadium where my son works, hopefully to catch him on TV. It'd be fun. But, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to carve, or I'm going to play a video game. Like I started scheduling my Saturday Sabbath, and it makes a huge difference on Monday. Like it really does. I mean, it sounds, it's very counterintuitive for me to not do anything. It's really hard, but the more I do it, the more I see the benefits of having a break, like just having a break.
Yeah. And I fully agree with that. That day for me is Friday. And it's funny that both your shows are on that day. So there's just twice in the day that I'm like, we're just going to pop in and check on Jeff again. Yeah. But it is so important. It's something that I've only really been prescribing to myself over the last couple of years. And I know if I miss a couple of weeks, I get anxious. I get frustrated. I caught myself the other day where I was leaving an appointment and I didn't have something for about an hour and a half, and I was driving, and about halfway home, I started feeling anxious because it was almost a thought of, what do I have to do now? And I had this thought where I was like, why don't I just lean into the gift of nothing, that I can just rest? I could take a nap. I could watch a show. I could read. Like, we don't always have to be bombarding ourselves. Like rest is in a weird way active because I do the same thing. Like you're saying, like I will schedule, go to Epcot, take a walk, or, go read this book, play, watch 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone, something where I'm just like, because I'm like, ooh, that the story is stimulating and I appreciate that and it inspires me. And I don't have to do anything. I hit a point a couple weeks ago where I sat in a meeting and a friend of mine asked me, he goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "You just don't seem like you're doing okay." And I was like, "I'm just kind of stressed. I've got a lot going on. We were leading up to Easter. I was making the graphics, playing in the band, the whole deal." Yeah. And we also have we have a daycare, like a preschool, at our church building. And he goes, "The reason I'm asking," he goes, "this one lady who's not on our staff, but works at the preschool, basically was like, she made a comment that the last couple of days you've been walking through the hallway and you're not yourself. and she doesn't even know you. And I was like, oh, I was like, well, that's not good. If I'm not resting to the point where people who don't even know me go, something's off. That was this check engine light. And so he was like, you got any time off soon? And I was like, yes, I do. And he's like, good. He was like, get away, unplug, don't do anything, just be. And I was like, man. And so again, reading Think, Move, Rest, Move, Think, Rest, and looking at the importance of just stopping, daydream, breathe, just let yourself go for a second. The work's going to be there. It's not life or death unless you're a brain surgeon, but you know, I mean, just, it's going to be okay to just go, hey, I'm going to answer this text tomorrow. You know, I don't think we allow ourselves to do that enough. We're not going to die and get to heaven and God goes, here's your badge for showing up tired. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Like you only get one body, be kind to it.
Yeah. One of the things, and I think Jay Klaus introduced me to this idea, is the open loops. Like I do not like open loops that are not closed.
Yeah.
If you have like that, there's this something in your brain, like I got to close this loop. And then there's this like monkey on your back and you can almost feel the pressure pushing it down. I have one right now of my talk with social media examiner. They need the slides by Friday. And I'm like, yeah, okay. That's an open loop, right? Like I need to get that done. And so what I have found to help with that is, and AI helps with this a lot, is like the whole creating a second brain system is like, I have an idea and you're like me, you're very creative. You have all these ideas swirling around all the time. And there's anxiety when you forget something. So I have a really good system of capturing ideas just so I can put them away and know that they're cataloged and I can get them later. That helps me close that loop so I can open it again later. And the other thing that I've done, I think it's called the Hemingway method because he used to do this, is like if I have to write an email and I know it's due tomorrow or I need to start on it tomorrow, I'll write like a paragraph of it. So when I start, I'm not starting from a blank page, right? Like it's that half thing and like, oh, I got an idea and a kind of an outline. I'll bang that out really quick. Yep. So those are kind of the things that have helped me lean into rest, because if I can get those things done, it's easier for me to unplug when it's time to.
Yeah, I love that. There's so many things that I think that, like watching you like carve your little Santa penguins or whatever they are, and just these little things where you're just stopping, and it's so cathartic. If you were to share something with our viewers, you know, like you've been involved in many things, you know, strolling magic, beekeeping, whatever, that you would tell our, did you say firefighting?
Yeah. In college, I was a student firefighter and lived in the bottom of the firehouse because it was a great program and I got to ride the trucks and dispatch during the school year. So yeah.
See, it's just like the many lives of Jeff Sieh.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's so weird. I should pick something.
What would you tell a viewer, like something that you would recommend? You'd be like, go learn how to do this because this will like help just free your mind.
So I would, you know, you talked about the carving show and I actually started doing that in COVID and I was really scared to revive it until Katie asked me, because I didn't want it to be a job or something that I would try to monetize or something like that. But a lot of people loved it. They always were asking like of anything, like, hey, when are you going to do the carving thing again? I would highly recommend somebody figure out how to do something with their hands that they enjoy. Like if it's painting, do that, lean into that. If it's learning how to, like, I'm still trying to learn the piano. I'm plunking around with it. Like, cause it's just fun and it makes me smarter. My mom's learning Spanish. Like she's going and doing, what is it? Not Duolingo. It's a different one. Anyway, but find something that has nothing to do with your work, but there's so many things that you'll find from doing that you can apply to your creativity at your job or your work or whatever. But find something like that you enjoy and do it. And it's fine to experiment with different hobbies. Like I'm doing 3D printing, I'm doing carving, like I'm piano. I mean, like the more fun things that I can do, that's what I want. I don't want to retire. I want to do more fun things, right? Like I want to do things that interest me and go down paths and like, oh, you know what? I don't really like doing that. Like I don't like basket weaving. I'm going to stop basket weaving, not basket weaving anymore. And so move to like, I want to do I want to learn how I bought an airbrush because I want to learn how to do airbrushing. So do stuff that like you've always wanted to do because you're not getting any younger. And, you know, we're only go around this ball once. Let's try stuff. Like don't have regrets at the end of your life. You're never going to say, oh, I wish I worked more. You're going to say like, I should have spent more time with Zach Brown. is what you're going to say. It's what it's going to say at the end of your life.
Our conversation continues after this.
If you're like me, you probably wear clothes every day. You wake up and wonder, what am I going to wear today? Same old boring shirt as yesterday? No thanks. But don't worry, I've got you covered. You can order your very own Zach Brown t-shirt today. Visit the Zach Brown Show-shop.fourthwall.com, or you can just check the show notes for a link. In addition to t-shirts, we've got other fun stuff like hats, stickers, mugs, and more. Get your Zach Brown Show gear only on fourthwall.com.
Hi, you having a great time?
Looking for the perfect place to unwind after a long day? Welcome to the Brass Mallard, your neighborhood escape for great food, craft brews, and unforgettable vibes. At the Brass Mallard, we're all about the unexpected. No sports on the TV, just great conversation, delicious food, and an atmosphere that feels like home. From barbecue chicken and perfectly grilled steaks to our famous house-made rosemary bread, every bite is packed with flavor. Oh, and did we mention? We serve schnapps. Why? Honestly, we're not sure, but it's here, it's tasty, and we're all about it. Located at the corner of Laverne and Grady, we're right where your good times begin. Gather your friends, pull up a chair, and hear stories you've definitely heard before. The Brass Mallard, where flavor takes flight.
And enough of that. Back to the show.
Being creative, as you know, is a lot more than just putting pictures together and things and making things. It's hard. It's a lot of work. And I think in our day and age where everybody and their mother has a podcast and just thinks that they can be an influencer and do all these things, I don't think they realize that once they get in, like, there's so much more to this lifestyle. What's something that you would say, or that you would wish, I guess I should say, that every creator understood about building sustainable creative lifestyle?
Consistency beats talent every time. I think somebody famous said that. I don't know if that's true, but I don't coin it to me. But I think you don't have to be super talented if you are consistent. Like, I don't think my show, I mean, compared to other things, like it's not, I'm not Tim Ferriss. Like, I'm not a huge podcast and huge numbers, but it's paid the bills. Like, I put 2 kids through college, and like we've been able to survive. I'm not, I don't have Zach Brown money, but I mean, I've got some money, like, from doing this stuff. And so I know I can, if something happened, I know I could pull another lever. Yeah. I would think though that because I've had some big guests say, like, hey, I can't do Fridays. Can we do another day? And I'm like, no, my audience shows up then. That's when it has happened. It's always, I mean, once in a while we've done a recording like on Christmas or something, but I've told them, like, I know I'm sorry you can't be there, but I mean, we always do it at 10 a.m. Central on Fridays, and that's where people show up. Like, my audience is number one, and that's why people show up. It's not, I don't think it's the guest or like whatever. I think it's because they're together watching something and able to ask questions. So I think consistency is very, very good. The other thing is don't do it alone. Like, I have been, I mentioned I have a paid mastermind I run with Paul Gowder, but I'm a member of a bunch of, like, I have one that with Eric Fisher and Anthony Witt that I've done over 10 years, every Monday morning.
Wow.
We talk about stuff. Like, it's just, those guys are in my life. And he lives in Illinois and Eric's in Indiana. Like, I don't ever see him except for conferences, but when we're there, it's just like we continue the conversation. So we've done it enough. And so we have each other do that. I have another group that I meet with, a bunch of men, where we just kind of pray for each other on Tuesday mornings that are in the same kind of industry. And we're talking about family and stuff. So that one's over 5 years. So, and then I have a paid one I'm in, like I mentioned, Jay Klaus's. And so don't do everything in a silo. Like, everyone thinks of social media as a way to get inbound leads and whatever. Use it to find your people, and then find colleagues and friends that you can partner with. Momentum. I have so many friends and people who have joined the mastermind that have now become friends and colleagues just because of going and doing stuff and being real and helping them out and answering questions and stuff. So don't do it in a silo, I guess, with that, and be consistent. Those are my 2 big pieces of advice.
No, I love that. I mean, I think you and I've had conversations, again, like at conferences and different things. And it's, like, you're getting stuff from sessions, and I'm not, poo-pooing people who are putting on those things, but it is those in between things. It's when you're coming back from dinner. It's the think about like when we were at Podfest, the amazing conversations we were having that had nothing to do with why we were there, but it was just being together and laughing in the late nights and whatever. And it's just like having those people in your world that you can pitch an idea and they can give you that feedback and be like, hey man, maybe not that, or you know what you need to do? You need to talk to this guy. And suddenly there's that, it's electric. We are not put on this earth to be alone. When you find those people that are like-minded, that they're going to give you the truth, but also lift you up when you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
That's priceless.
Oh yeah. So I don't know if it's this Podfest or that, but if you don't have a group where you could sit at a restaurant, Bar Taco is the best, for 4 hours and just have incredible conversation and laughing and joking with each other and telling stories and realize, oh, we got to go because they're closing. Like that, you need to find that. That will change your life. And if you can't find anybody, start looking and make it yourself. Like you don't have to wait. Like if you go to a conference or even like your local PTA or wherever you're at, like if you find somebody you're like, there may be something there, like connect with, let's get coffee. And don't be scared to develop that, because that more than anything else will make you more creative and will grow your business like never before. Those two things.
Find you the people that you will shut restaurants down with.
That's right. Exactly. Or get kicked out. Either way. Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be a good story.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I think some of the greatest lessons that we learn as just humans, but especially creators, people who have been in various industries, are the failures, the things that didn't go the way we planned, the kicks in the teeth, the things that we walk away going, crap, what now? What is a failure, or maybe a couple, that you are glad that you had because it not only taught you something, but it's something that you use probably like on the weekly?
Oh man, I failed at so many things. Which one should I pick? When I was an exotic dancer? No, the one that I'm trying to think. So I started one time way back when Amazon merch came out. I started doing t-shirts. Like I was creating, I thought, oh, I'm going to make all this money creating t-shirts. And then you'd make a t-shirt and then somebody from China would rip it off and start selling it, 50 cents cheaper. And they would go there. And so I had a Shopify store. It was called Manly Plunder because it went into the Manly Pinterest thing. And it was a great logo. It was so much fun. I had a ball putting it together, but it did not work. So
are you sure you're still not talking about the exotic dancer?
No, exactly. That was my stage name, Andy Plunder. Yeah. I dressed as a pirate. I just had, no, we won't go there. But yeah, so that was a big kind of, it was a good learning thing. So I learned about e-commerce and yada, yada, yada. But I've had lots of failures. I've tried, they say if you someday when you speak, you'll bomb. I think it was last year. Like I did almost three speaking engagements in a row. And every time there was a tech problem. Like one time their slides thing would advance. And my slides are they're the punchline a lot of times to something. So I'm very visual with my slides. And so I would hit a button and it would jump ahead 2 and I'd have to try to go back 1. And it just killed everything. And it was a big conference. It was like CEX, so like a big one. I'm like, ugh. And then I went to Ecamm and Katie still because the mic didn't work. It was like cutting out, and they tried to switch it and the guy was sweating bullets over there. And it's just like, you know what? I'm just got to go with it. So now I'm prepared. Like there's not really anything that can be thrown at me at a conference or a speaking gig that I'm like, okay, let's just go. Let's do it.
Just see you without this microphone shouting at the room like Garrett Morris.
It was so, and it was a big wide room. And so it was just, and the mics didn't work. And that's why when I was at Momentum, I pretended like the mic didn't work and Lou's like, oh my God, he was freaking out because he knew because that was a big inside joke that's funny. Yeah. And I was just giving him a hard time. But he still doesn't get my name tag right.
I was just going to say, and I've seen you at multiple conferences, whatever.
No, it was his cruise, his actual cruise. It's like 3 Momentums in a row, name tag screwed up. And then I go to his where I pay real money, to go on a cruise. Nothing. No,
they didn't have your name tag at
no,
Podfest
he had my
either.
Wife and my daughters, but not mine. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
You know who you are. That's all.
And thank you for noticing that and telling him. That was so funny.
Yeah. It's just where you're like, come on, man.
I
help a guy out.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do for Momentum this year, but we'll figure it out soon.
just a really, really big name tag. Like it's like
Yeah.
the size of your shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
So you are the tech guy in my eyes. I don't know how other people think about you, but you always with the new stuff. What would you say is your favorite creative tool under $50?
Under 50.
Or I'll
There's
be
so
generous.
many.
$100. I'll give you $100.
So my favorite one is that I use every week is Suno. It gets
Okay.
better every week. So that's what I use to create the AI music with, right? And I've played with it enough that I've got, it was always trying to make you have like a minute and a half song, which is way too long for an intro music for a show. So I feel really proud that I got it down to where I got it. Like it's 20 seconds and I can use it as a cover for the next one. So it keeps the same theme, which is just so cool. So that's the funnest one that I like to play with. Creative tool. Descript is the one I use for editing. I went kicking and screaming into that editor from when I started Guy's show. That's another one that I started 5 years ago. But I'm glad I did it because it really does speed up for visual and podcast stuff. It's just like, it's changed everything.
Yeah.
So those are the two.
Now, you had me using the Descript stuff now, and I'm like, this is mind blowing.
Oh yeah.
Of what it does for you.
And it just keeps getting better. Like there's just some cool stuff like to enhance your shows and your content you're putting out. The tools are not going to be the issue anymore. It's going to be storytelling. And I know you talk about this a lot inside of there. And I would throw out everything else. Learn how to tell a story.
Yep.
Learn how to tell a short story. Learn how to tell a medium story and a long story, because that, you have content buckets for each one of those, and the learning how for each, because they're different for each. Like storytelling for a 30-second, TikTok is way different than a 12-minute YouTube video. And so learn how to tell stories in those different mediums, and they're going to evolve too. So always be learning how you can tell a story the best way for whatever format you're going out.
Yeah. I heard you say a couple of years ago about somebody had asked about a technology or something, and your response has not left me. And you said, this is the worst it's ever going to be.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is such a cool thought, that it's like, it's only going to get better from here. It's only going to evolve more. They're only going to figure out, ooh, we can do this with it. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's funny because it's always evolving. Like we don't go to conferences for spell check, right? Like we don't go like, hey, did you go to the spell check conference? No, didn't go this year. I'm going to go next year. Like it changes. Like we don't talk about spell check, but I remember when spell check came out, it's like, oh my gosh, because I stink at spelling. It was amazing technology. Will this go away too? Probably. Will it be baked into everything? I have a feeling it will be. But like even now, the coolest thing I did this past week is I set up a personal briefing that gets emailed to me on stuff that I want specifically, like a morning brew or a 1440 newsletter, but all on visual marketing and AI. That is specific for me. It gives me the YouTube videos that came out the night before, all this stuff, and the daily briefing with AI as the driver behind that. And it just shows up. And I'm like, that's cool. That is what I'm looking for. And I even have it programmed to give me talking points for my talk that's coming up at the end of this month. So
Nice.
it's really, really cool. Yeah. It goes in and sees who's speaking and like, hey, you might want to mention in your talk this guy because he's talking about AI and Instagram, and it might be good to do some it makes my job putting the speech together way easier. So
Yeah.
very cool.
So we've said that, again, it's about the conversations. It's about the relationships. It's about the hive mind. What did I hear? The word that I read this morning, asenius, where it's like
So you better
you're
watch your
seeing
mouth there, young man.
Yeah, I know. It's in that book, Show Your Work. Anyway, and you're just talking about, it's the collective of all the people, that it's like no one is just a genius all on their own. Anyway.
Yeah.
This is our very deep and philosophical question. If you had a dinner party and you could fill the table with creatives from the past or still living, who's sitting at your table and why?
Oh, I know. I don't know how many people I can have, but, Walt Disney. And actually, I think, this may be controversial, but you think about who you'd like to have a beer with. I think Roy would be funner to have a beer with than Walt. Yeah. Walt did some things like, he's like, oh, those guys fight. Let me put them together because it'll make them more creative. I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I don't like the little experiments that he used to run with his team. Mm-hmm. I mean, it worked, but I just that's not me. So right. I think Roy, he was kind of I don't know, people he'd hang out with, like the blue collar people. I think he reminds me a little bit of the Dirty Jobs guy. Like he would do that. Like he would be out there like Mike Rowe. So Roy and Walt Disney, I think, would be at the table because Walt, I always respect him for his repurposing, like getting the way he got the stuff from the World's Fair sponsored and then taken apart and used for his park. I just think, okay, that's genius.
So
I would love to have some comedians at the table. I would love to have Steve Martin, Martin Short. I like them. I would like Nick Baragowski. He is, I think those people are funny and I would learn from them. I really like clean comedians. Let me see. Red Skelton, his stuff is still good. Johnny Carson. There's a channel that you can watch in one of these free channels where it's all just Johnny Carson. I love him. Dick Van Dyke. I would love to sit at a table. Dave Filoni from the Star Wars stuff. Kevin Feige. Don't tell Lou. Lou knows Kevin Feige. He's probably talking to him right now. But I think he's a genius for how he got the whole universe and boiled it down and made it so it's a consumable product for people who don't know comic books. Yeah. So there's a ton of people. As you can see, it's like a lot of creative heavyweights. Like the guy who started Pixar. One of my favorite books is Creativity Inc. Ed Catmull. Yeah, Ed Catmull. That's a great thing with creatives. So I think those kind of people. I'm trying to think who else would I have at my table. Zach Brown, because he's creative, and plus he would be mad if I didn't have him sit at the table if I got all these people together. He's like, Jeff, come on, man. Like, why didn't you have me there as well? Yeah. So there's so many cool people that I would have, but most of them would be, I think, creatives. Like Dick Van Dyke, I just think I love seeing him still going to the park and the barbershop people singing to him and he's just there tapping his feet. Like that's cool. So yeah, a lot of those big time creators, I think I would love to have there.
I love that. All right.
And C.S. Lewis, my favorite author. Yeah. He'd be good.
That's a good mix. I would just put me over there next to Martin Short. I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. The thing is like we talked about the importance of masterminds and collaboration. C.S. Lewis, Tolkien, the Inklings, that's what they did. Like they got together and talked about their stories, and we would not have The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia if they didn't have their mastermind. Yeah. So I'm like, this has been going on for a long time. Smart people have been doing that.
I could just imagine the people that were like waiting on them in the bars or the pubs and wherever they were hanging out. And these these really nice looking like professors are sitting there well put together. And he's like, and then there's going to be a guy that's like half goat, half man in the woods. And he's delivering presents to a little girl in a lamppost. And the guy's like, all right, you're cut off.
Yeah, you're done.
You've been overserved.
You're done, Clive. Clive Staples Lewis is his name. Yeah. Staples. That's an unfortunate middle name, but anyway.
That's on your mom. You're never going to find that on a mug at Disneyland. But anyway, I love that you said.
I was going to say, speaking of initials, this is a funny story. When we were naming my daughter Abby, Jody, my wife, said, "Well, I really want her middle name to be Samantha." And I'm like, she can never have monogrammed towels. They're like, why would she have a towel for that? Right? Like it just wouldn't work. Abigail Samantha C would not work.
I love that you caught this ahead of time. That's very smart.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you still get together with your dad or your parents I love that. I think that's incredibly special. So you've obviously spent a lot of time together. What is a piece of creative advice that either your dad or your mom gave you that you still use and is still ringing true?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I mean, they always believed in me and I want to impart that to my kids, but also people around me. I want to be an encourager, I guess. And the cool thing, my dad he was, like I always say, he was the best preacher I've ever met because I had to watch him so many times. But I learned a lot about how to speak. Dad, I talked about Jody about this the other day. Dad taught me that how to treat people. Like he would do because it was a small town. He would do on like Wednesday nights. He would go to the rest homes where the elderly people were, and he taught me to go. I would go with him, and I would turn the pages to their hymnal, and I would switch the hymnal with them. he always taught me with the people on the wheelchair to crouch down to look at them straight in the eye, because they have always are getting looked down on with everybody, and being able to look them straight in the eye, their eyes would light up and they would see, because you would see them as a person. So he had taught me like those little skills that I still think are really cool to this day of being that way. But also one of my favorite memories is Dad had, back in the day, they had the big calendar planners that were desk pads, like really big, giant calendars, but all around it, from his meetings would be in there, but all around it were doodles and cartoons and stuff. And he used to draw these cartoons, and I would go and just look at those and see what he would do. And I would try to copy those cartoons and stuff. And so Dad wouldn't say he's a big creative person, but his sermons were very creative, and he'd have to weave in stories and all that. So I would argue with him on that, but that was he could draw, and he could do a really good job drawing, and he would draw signs for people and stuff around the church. But seeing those doodles and knowing that, yes, you could do a job, but having that creative outlet there that he could do every day, I think made a big difference. So that's kind of some of the takeaways I had.
I love that. Jeff Sieh, tell our friends where they can participate in all things you.
Yeah, you can find me at Jeff Sieh. That's Jeff. S is in Sam, IEH, I before E, especially in C. That's how my mommy had me memorize it. And you can always find me at Creator News Live every Friday at 10 a.m. Central. And then we're doing the Maker's Table, where I carve, Katie crochets, and we have great conversations. And that's at 1 p.m. Central on Fridays. So would love to see anybody there.
I love it. I'll make sure to post all the links in the show notes. They're below. Whether it's in your hand or you're watching on YouTube, you got all the stuff. Jeff, you're the best, man. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Zach. Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Once again, I'd like to thank my guest, Jeff Sieh, for coming on the show. You can check out Jeff's show, Creator News Live, every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. I also want to thank you, my friend and listener, for taking some time with me. If you're enjoying the stories you hear on the show and would like to continue the conversation, you can sign up for my email newsletter. Just click the link in the show notes. The Zach Brown Show is hosted and produced by me, Zach Brown. It is engineered and co-produced by Corey Jess and is part of the Zach Brown Network. Our album art is by Luis Lopez. Our catchy outro music is Nurse by Corey Jess. You can listen to the full song on Spotify and iTunes. Follow The Zach Brown Show on Facebook and Instagram. And finally, you can help support the show by signing up to be a Patreon member. Memberships start as low as $5 a month with perks like buttons, stickers, sneak peeks at upcoming projects, and even an exclusive shirt. Sign up right now at patreon.com/The Zach Brown Show. That's all for this episode. I hope you come back for the next one. Until then, take care.